Yeah, that brings another point because the data is so deep, so big. So how do you think the prioritization is, how important is that, and what is the criteria generally you see in prioritizing these things and work in pieces?
Mm-hmm. So absolutely, prioritization is essential. I think if you think about data governance, what I call data governance 1.0 versus data governance 2.0, and most institutions now being in 2.0, 1.0 often wasn't as successful as banks or companies would have liked them to have been, for a number of reasons. One is that they were sometimes too heavily IT driven, and so they viewed data governance as a technology problem when really it's something that needs to be owned by the business, and it gets to a lot of process issues that need to be fixed to actually be governing data effectively. And then secondly is prioritizing what's the data that you want to govern first, and focusing on a business value that's going to be derived from that. Now, often, when data governance organizations think about value, they're not sure what the value is of regulatory data. But at the moment, especially for any bank that's having to go through CCAR reporting or has had MRAs or had inquiries from the regulators to demonstrate data governance over their reg reporting, there's a huge amount of value to be able to have a platform, to have a program that takes away the pain of data governance. So prioritizing what is most important from a regulatory concern is definitely the recommendation. And so this year we're starting to see institutions explicitly commit to the regulators that CCAR will become BCBS239 compliant. We're seeing the regulators look to enforce BCBS239 through CCAR, primarily because CCAR has some pretty specific and severe consequences of non-compliance. And so you start with CCAR data, and then within the CCAR data, you do have to do some amount of prioritization, but it's a challenge because the regulators will tell you that every data element is equal in CCAR reporting. Mm-hmm. And so you can still do some prioritization, but I think it's important to show a roadmap and a plan that addresses all the CCAR data, and then even starts talking, like I mentioned before, recognizes that you need to expand beyond CCAR. So we're not going to do CCAR and be done. At least show a high level plan of X months, X years out. This is when we'll be getting to that other data.
So Koen, one point Simon is mentioning is about the business and IT. So how do you see the involvement in the proof of values of the business or IT, and what do you see more value that's generated from what side of the organization?
Well, often on the IT side, there's a lot there already. Ideally, there's of course a data authority that sits between IT and the business. That's often where now those visuals are created, and if you look at them, that has the correct information in it. It's probably always out of date because it doesn't reflect the living body that is the organization. So if you can load that in a Collibra and have the collaboration between IT, the systems, the controls that are in place, and the reports and the business ownership, if you have that collaboration going, then I think you're doing the right thing. And those visuals are already, they show the correct information, right? So it's quite high level, but then you can zoom in from there and take out a subset of systems, see what the policies are around it, and so on and so on. So that collaboration will be key.
So how do you see the involvement of business in the recent days with this process?
I think that if you really look at it now, today versus 5 to 6 years ago, it's a really high business involvement. Whereas if you look back 5 years ago, everything was always IT driven and forced upon the business. Now, because of the regulations and because of the complexity of data and understanding that data, where a lot of that tribal knowledge lies in the business side, we do see that shift that the business wants to take ownership of it, understand where data comes from, govern it, because ultimately they end up being responsible for those reports that are going out, not the IT folks who are managing the data underneath in those applications.
I think one thing that will be very important for these projects is to, once you have like data governance as business as usual, that you link it in with your project lifecycle management, which is something where a lot of banks can learn from non-banks. Because this is what I used to do. I used to do Basel implementations and IFRS and Core and so on, and we never spoke to the business. It was always IT. Mm-hmm. And banks asked for a black box. That's what they wanted, a one-button solution for the whole of Basel. I want to press one button and my reg report should come out. And that's what we delivered. Mm-hmm. But of course, when the consultants left, an asset class changed or a product changed on the business side, and the governance wasn't there, so things failed and so on. Right? So just to go on after that, if things change, there's a new project, new systems get introduced, that should all be embedded with the project lifecycle management. And some of our clients are doing that very well already.